Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rowlands along with Julia Janae. Back to Dedham, Massachusetts now, where it's day 11 of the murder retrial for defendant Karen Reed.
She's the one who's charged with second-degree murder in the death of her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe. He was found dead outside of a friend's house after a night out drinking back in January of 2022. And we're listening to testimony about one of his friends, the phone that Jennifer McCabe had, and whether or not she made a search and deleted it. There's an expert on the stand, a forensic examiner, who's going to give her opinion, we believe, about whether or not those searches were deleted. Let's go back in the courtroom.
I'm now going to ask you for your first opinion. So you shared that you have an opinion about whether that timestamp 2/27/40 was, whether or not that was the time the search "How Long to Die in the Cold" occurred. Can you tell us, to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, your opinion about whether that search, "How Long to Die in the Cold," occurred at 2:27:40 a.m. on January 29th, 2022?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Okay, the objections are overruled.
What I can state to a scientific degree of certainty is that that search occurred at 6:24 a.m. and was the last search in the tab that had been opened at 2:27.
Do you have an opinion, to a degree of scientific certainty, whether there was any other searches similar to "How Long to Die in the Cold" that evening on that tab?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow it.
May I first inquire, you meant morning, I
I'm
assume?
sorry, that morning, yes.
Just clarifying, I did not look at evening searches. And can you repeat? I apologize. I disrupted my own train of
Do you
thought.
have an opinion, to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, whether there were any other searches on that tab before the final search at 6:24:47, "How Long to Die in Cold"?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Just ensuring that I have the question correct.
Please.
You're asking if what else occurred in that tab prior?
Yes.
That I cannot say with a clear degree of certainty.
Okay. Did you develop a chalk that I showed you earlier?
Yes.
Right to approach?
Yes.
Again, I show you. Same document. You recognize it?
Yes.
And what is it?
It is the exhibit that I created that was labeled Table 1 in the first report I had delivered.
And does that provide information that will assist us in understanding your opinion?
Yes.
I'd move, subject to redaction, that this be introduced into evidence.
Your Honor, I have no issue with regard to the redaction aspect, but consistent with my prior objections, I would object to that.
Okay, I'm going to allow this into evidence. Your rights are safe, Mr.
Thank you, Your
President.
Honor. Appreciate it.
Exhibit 82.
Madam Clerk, 82?
Exhibit 82.
Thank you. With the court's permission, I'd like to show Exhibit 82 to the jury.
Okay?
Could we enlarge the first two? And we're going to need to get the right column in if we can, please. Thank you. Ms. Hyde, can you see it from there?
I can. Thank you.
If you can walk us through how this exhibit assists us in understanding your explanation and the basis for your opinion.
This exhibit shows the Safari artifacts and artifacts of Google searches in Safari related to the two searches in question, How Long to Die in CILKD and How Long to Die in Cold, that occurred on the morning of November 29th, 2022 on the device under examination.
If I look at this chart and I see in the top left it says 2:27:40 a.m. and then under the search term it says How Long to Die in Cold. How do I understand your opinion that that search didn't happen at 2:27:40?
This document is showing you the data that is the parsed result. The source of that artifact that you see in the last column is a little bit cut off, the browser state DB-wall file. That database does store how the data is stored, the search term "How's long to die in cold" with an associated MAC absolute epoch timestamp that translates to 2:27 a.m., that is what is physically stored. That does not annotate the meaning of that artifact. That was determined through testing following the NIST OSAC data generation guidelines for testing.
In the second row, we see a timestamp on the left-hand column, 6:23:49. And it provides artifact, the cache record. What is the term, and what does that mean under the search term?
iOS Safari cache records. A cache refers to something that a computer program wants quick and easy access to. When we search on our phones, anything, a lot of times, be it in Google or in Safari, depending on what type of phone you own, it'll suggest what it thinks you're going to type in, right? So you can click it. It's trying to be helpful. In this instance, at 6:23:49, we have a cache record that indicates that Apple suggested the phrase, "How long does it take to digest food?"
And then under that, 6:23:51, it appears it says a recent web search, and the spelling is changed. How long, TIDIEINCIKD. So
this, in reference to these two search terms, this is the first actual search that occurs at 6:23:51 a.m. Upon beginning the typing of that phrase, Apple provided the suggested search, and the person inputting into the phone at that time continued to type out a phrase and finished it as "how long, TIDINCIKD," which that is available to us in the mobile Safari plist, which tracks recent web searches. And then we'll see 6 seconds later, we get that reference in that Knowledge C database that I mentioned before. That's the next line. So that's the Knowledge C database is Apple's way of keeping knowledge about what the user's doing. It sees and holds your knowledge. It's an easy way to remember it. That's what I teach my students. So that Knowledge CDB tracks a lot of things for predictive purposes. And so 6 seconds later, it's logging that same search. So that search is being tracked in 2 places.
And so one search can be left as artifacts in different locations on the database?
Correct. There can be multiple traces or artifacts of the same user action in different places on a mobile device.
And if we go down to the bottom, the last column, at 6:24:47, we again see "How's long to die in cold?" And if you look in the first column, it's the same phrase. Is that a coincidence that it appears at the bottom at 6:24:47 and also appears up at 2:27:40?
As mentioned before, through testing of the artifact for Browser State DB, that artifact will hold the most recent search that happened in the tab. So it is logical that how's long, HOS long to die in cold, was searched at 6:24:18, tracked in that mobile Safari plist, repeated in Knowledge C. Knowledge made its tracking in Knowledge CDB, and then that table for Browser State DB, which again has the time that the tab was opened, or the last time it was backgrounded, and updated just the website that was visited. So the website, that is why we get that 2:27 time. That's actually, as far as the data storage is, the first thing I have in there, because I want to put it in chronological time order for exhibit purposes, is actually the last thing to happen because it's the update to what's in the tab.
And you offered that the "how's long to die in cold" is the last thing to happen. Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty the time when that search was made?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh, they're slowly getting to the point that they want to bring out. Let's get in our break. We're hitting the pause button. You're not going to miss a moment of this testimony with the forensic examiner on the stand in the Karen Reed murder retrial in Massachusetts.
It's been my passion to work in nursing homes.
One of our residents passed away.
On the next Interview with a Killer.
You watched and stood by while your patient was lying there being tortured.
What else was I supposed to do?
That's so conniving. You understand that? So much for your career in caretaking.
Interview with a Killer, season finale, Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
I'm Matt Johnson in Dedham, Massachusetts, covering the Karen Read murder retrial. This is Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back. Thanks for being with us. I'm Julia Janae here with Ted Rollins, and we have our cameras fixed and aimed in Dedham, Massachusetts this afternoon. It's day 11, week 3 for the murder retrial for defendant Karen Read.
She faces multiple charges, including that top charge of second-degree murder in the death of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, a Boston cop. Her first trial, of course, ended in a mistrial. Jury could not reach a unanimous verdict on all of the charges, and they didn't fill out the verdict form, so she's back at it now with the second degree on the table. Still with us before we head back, David Gelman. Did the defense almost build up this expert by, it was like watching this really boring movie, but you want to stay for the end. And they kept holding it back and holding it back with the objections and the sidebars. Do you think jurors leaned in more because of the postponing the inevitable?
Ted, I love that analogy of the boring movie, because that's exactly what we're looking at right now. It's like, is this over? I don't think the jury really is into it, if you really want to know the truth. I can't imagine they are, because, look, I'm a legal expert. You guys are legal experts. We're sitting here, we're like, come on, what are we doing here? So I don't think they really moved the needle. I don't think the jury is leaning in like that, saying, ooh, what's going to happen next? No, I don't think it's any of that theatrics right now. I think they're just trying to get to the end of it, and then the defense will have their opportunity. I do like there was one possible questioning opportunity that the defense will have, where the second question by Brennan was under the certainty aspect of did you check the phone? And when the expert said, no, I didn't check for nighttime searches, if I'm the defense, I'm pouncing on that, because again, it shows reasonable doubt. You didn't do your job the correct way. Why didn't you do everything from A to Z? And they're kind of like, going over that, glossing over that, the prosecutor is. Defense is going to pick up on that, and they are going to just slam dunk that one.
Oh, yeah. And we're spending so much time on Hoslong to Dying Cold. Yes, those of us who have followed this trial are entrenched in it, but I wonder if the jurors think it matters that much. Let's get back into the courtroom. We are still listening to, again, that testimony from digital forensic examiner Jessica Hyde.
To a reasonable degree of certainty, I can say that Hoslong to Dying Cold was searched at approximately 6:24 a.m.